I have managed to get hold of a copy of the Protocols of the Elders of Boomer. Now, here we go. And if you look at the top protocol, it does say, do not be racist.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
This was all a part of the Boomer world domination plan.
Yes,
if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Some people say that this is fake, and I don't know if it is, but somebody has read this.
I think some argue that it was a piece of fiction written in the 19th century that was then later propagandized as being real. How they predicted boomers, though.
It does summarize the boomer worldview quite well, though, doesn't it?
It does. I noticed there's some repetition as the list goes on.
Now, I want to be very clear to our lovely audience watching that I am not necessarily accusing all of you who were of a certain age of being boomers, at least not with a hard R. If
anti-boometic, are you?
No, I'm saying you can be born in 1955 and not be a boomer with a hard R. I'll give you the soft A. Right. But there are.
My parents are boomers of the soft A.
Well, there you go. We don't mind them; they're fine. But this broadly is the worldview of the boomer, and by far and away the most important thing is do not be racist. But the thing is that has been carried over to the point where this guy in Germany can be obviously incompetent, very obviously incompetent, and yet still get a doctor's salary, which was enough to buy a powerful BMW car. And then use it the way that he did, because of course the edict of "don't be racist" has become warped to the point where you have to be actively anti-racist to the point where competence doesn't matter. Yes. Now, my argument is that an appropriate level of racism is quite acceptable. Now, there are.
Are you even arguing for racism in this case? Like, are we not just arguing if he crap at the job, don't let him off because he's brown?
Well, okay, so...
is there a clip of Jordan Peterson yelling merit forcefully that you might actually be gesturing towards right now?
Weirdly enough, actually, Jordan Peterson kind of has a point on that one.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, fine. I'll give you level 1 is just not being retardedly anti-racist.
I don't think that's a level of racism.
Merit.
Like anything that we would have described as called racism anyway.
Well... Okay. Let me describe a scenario then. So scenario is minimum level racism is, oh look, a foreign doctor has turned up. Should we have a quick chat with him and see if he knows roughly what he's on about? So is
that racism?
Oh, under the current rules, yes.
Current paradigm, yes.
I don't know if we should concede that that's racism.
The current paradigm is you want to check this man's credentials, Hitler.
Yes, that is under the current system.
What would Hitler do? Check his credentials. Well, we can't do that.
That is 100% racism under the current system of checking out foreign doctors to see if they actually know what they talk about.
I mean, you are right, but I don't know if we should concede that that's what racism is.
But it is that at the moment, and I'm saying it shouldn't be that. Yeah, all you need to do is you need to go to these new doctors and you say. If a patient presents with symptoms A and B, what would you do? And
what kind of leech do you apply? And if they say this kind of leech, then
if he gives you some sort of sensible answer, then you go, okay, yeah, fair enough. But if he says alcohol good, honey bad, then you think, oh, hang on a minute, we might need to check whether that degree that he presented us with a misspelt degree is actually
what they taught you at university.
Giving them a basic test doesn't seem like very much it just doesn't feel like a commitment to racism.
Okay, put it this way. Let's
liberalism needs to leave my body.
Put it like this: in America, certain tests are not applied to certain groups because there is a knowledge that they will inevitably fail them on a mass scale. So you don't apply those tests to them because that would be racist.
Yes. Do we think that if there was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed German doctor who had to look everything up on Google? Did his rounds alone because he didn't want any staff seeing what he was up to? Could barely speak German, which would be odd for a German. But do you think that guy would be allowed to draw a doctor's salary as a consultant for like 20 years?
But Dan, you're acting as if white privilege doesn't exist.
Yeah, Dan.
So that's the minimal level of racism which I'm prepared to accept. Does this document go on? Oh, it keeps... just saw there was a scroll bar.
We don't need that anymore. I mean, it does continue, but I only listed the first 25 points.
Yeah.
That's 24, actually.
Oh, was it? All right, okay.
That was very boomer of you there.
Yes, you were there. That is true. I mean, the next level of which I'm going to call the South, because the South Koreans are wonderfully racist. They just have the view.
They test their doctors, do they?
I presume so. I mean, they just have the view that South Korea is at the top, and then you've got everybody else. Now you can, and Japan's a bit like this as well. You can go as a West.
They have a national pride.
Yes, you can as a Westerner go and live and work in South Korea or Japan, but you better be bloody good at whatever it is you're doing, otherwise they won't tolerate you.
And they'll make it very difficult for you to make the move in the first place.
The
Yes.
bar for racism is just so low. If be able to do your job,
That's kind of my point.
Yep.
That's pretty much what I'm going with here.
Yep. Don't worry, Dan's not been reading through the Eugenics Society and Francis Galton or anything like that. At least I don't think he has. But even then, that's not the level of racism that Dan's going to right now.
And then the next level above that is just to say, if you're not X, then you shouldn't be an X. Like, if you're not German, then you shouldn't be in Germany, unless you're invited.
Sure.
Right, now I'm not saying which level you should pick. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be at level 1 anymore. We should be at least...
I suspect there are gradients between those two. They feel
Yes.
like the extremes. There are probably gradients of racism between those. Quoting my reason.
I could imagine several more levels on top, but okay, we won't go there at this time. Let's move on to the realism of the idea of a bit of... let's see if we can scroll up. There we go. Here we go. So Peter Boghossian.
Yep.
Boghossian. Is he one of our guys? I think...
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Right.
He's a good chap.
So he asked the question, for those who think this is a problem...
He's a terminal liberal, though, I have to say. I mean, just look at this post.
He's
Boomer.
he's not a boomer.
Is he?
No,
Oh,
he's
right.
Gen X.
Oh, okay.
why I had to say
He wants liberalism to work,
Right.
but he is also accepting of the fact that it has flaws. Right.
Liberalism can
Yes.
work under a very specific set of circumstances.
Yeah, for 130 IQ anglers.
Which,
I agree.
which
you know, like liberalism.
this video does not show the prevailing liberal circumstances.
Liberalism is Sharia for Anglos, but yeah.
The question that Peter asks is, for those who think this is a problem, I'm curious as to what you think a realistic solution is. Add brackets, the key word here being realistic. Now, this is the point that a lot of people have got to at the moment, which is...
Intifada crowd marching through the Christmas
Yes.
market, calling for whatever, anti-German nonsense. Why are they here? How do we get rid of them?
But a lot of people are focusing on the realistic, as if remigration is just somehow impossible. And the point I make below is that mass deportation and seriously counter-Islamic policies and policing are entirely realistic. It's merely a question of political will.
France has given us loads of examples of this,
Yes.
actually. We'll literally ban the burqa.
Yes.
Mandate a pork-based diet.
I
So
don't know if we can go that far.
the
Pork's
important,
delicious.
the important thing
You don't need to mandate it with me, mate. It's like when you
So there's
accuse-
no effect for you.
This is like when you accuse me of not drinking milk. I drink milk and eat pork, and I love these things.
yes.
But the point is, there are some people who don't like pork. Like, do we have?
Wasn't the angle that wasn't the angle I wanted to go on?
To save Western civilization,
I mean,
you must eat pork and you must eat beef.
you preach to the choir, but like, I guess
It's the members who aren't part of the choir
Who is
that I'm
against a glass of milk and a bacon sandwich in this conversation?
no one. But like,
well, there we go. We've got that covered.
There we go. So
It-
we're mandating it.
I am
That's step one.
I am feeling that maybe the libertarians might have a point where like these things are good, but does the government have to force us to do it?
Well, if it's so good, then the fact that
Can't we just
if
deport those people?
if
who
it's so
refuse?
good, then what's the problem with the government forcing you to?
Well, so your citizenship should be a glass of milk and a ham sandwich.
That should be the
That's a good
first,
start.
the first of
Yes.
many tests when you
Yeah.
get to the border. Drink
Also-
this, eat this.
yes. Okay.
It's
so
a very friendly and welcoming test.
To be fair, if I went to a country and they gave me a bacon sandwich and a glass of milk, I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. This is great.
yeah, but the thing is, what if the Chinese start doing that?
I normally
Because-
have to pay for these things
Because the
myself.
Chinese will eat anything, so we just end up with loads of Chinese immigrants.
Well, there's other tests.
Right. Okay. we have gone very slightly sideways from the point that I was looking to steer us, but no, it is a right
I'm
challenge.
already thinking of utopia.
Snack-based immigration system is perfectly fine, but no, my general point is that all of this stuff seems unimaginable and unrealistic until you start doing it. Like,
oh well, I just recorded a video for the Daily Channel today about how Sweden, France, Italy, Germany, obviously the United States under Homan,
yes,
and Canada are all taking massive restrictive policies to their immigration, and they're all planning mass deportations, whereas Italy's already doing them, and Sweden's already doing them.
Well, they're step one of the little list that I've got coming up. But my example was going to be lockdowns. If you had gone back to 2018 and explained lockdowns to somebody in 2018, they would have thought it's truly absurd. And this is the thing: these ideas are always unimaginable until they start happening, and then it's just imaginable. It's just fine.
It's normal.
Yeah, what elites want, they will get. And remigration, it is inevitable. It is going to happen.
It's already happening.
Indeed. And the only question is making the elites want it, and that's a combination of either some circulation of the elites, but actually the existing elites will also do it the moment it's in their interests.
They're already changing to do this. I mean, Keir Starmer declared that open borders was an experiment that was inflicted on us by the Conservatives. Okay, fine. It's not like I trust Keir Starmer, but the point is, I think he will definitely... I mean, all of his administration are literally... I mean, he went over to meet Maloney. Say, oh, I'm going to take all your advice on how to just essentially get rid of all these illegals. Good start. And then there are many more steps to go from that. But the point is, we're on the right trajectory at this point. And it's the current elites that are doing it. I mean, even Justin Trudeau was like, we're going to have a pause on immigration. Yeah. It's gone too far.
And who would have thought it would be like Keir Starmer and Justin Trudeau?
5 years ago, it would have been unthinkable.
Yeah, making a lead on this stuff.
Yeah. So
and every argument that you can put against it, I'm just saying, if you change the incentive structures, like the one that I always hear is the human rights lawyers. If you change the incentives for how it operates, the human rights lawyers will fall in line. So what you could do is you could just put in place a framework for doing remigration fairly,
safely.
Yeah, and then they spend all of their time making sure that their clients are remigrated appropriately and fairly, and then they don't get paid until the client has been deported.
Yes.
And they will all fall in line.
Yes. And the ones that don't will just wither.
Yes.
And without funding. And they'll be replaced by those who are prepared to do it to get the money. So you are exactly right. It's all about incentives.
And 99.9% of them will just fall in line immediately as soon as the incentives change. So I've got a little list here, and you've actually talked about some of these. And I just want to sort of make the point for the audience that as I go down this list, if you imagine as soon as we achieve each point, how difficult will it be to achieve the next point on the list? Now, you might not necessarily jump to the last one on the list, but the point is, as you go through them, each incremental step is so small that it's not a problem. So step one, stop the massive inflow. As you pointed out, already happening. Step two, instead of taking people from small boats to hotels to social housing to indefinite leave to remain, just immediately deport them.
Take them back to where they came from.
Yes.
Just literally. If you came from France, you go back to France. If you came from wherever, you go back to wherever.
And that happens in every non-Western country today. That happens immediately now.
And Keir Starmer did do that the very first moment he came in, didn't he? They turned one boat around, but that was it, one boat.
Right.
But they turned, so that shows they can do it. And they will do it if they want.
And they will.
Yeah, it's just a matter of deciding to do it. Like you say, a question of political will.
Step three, immediately deport the stock of illegal boat people that are already here. Again, it's just nothing difficult about this. 4, deport those granted indefinite leave to remain who have committed crimes.
Yep.
Deport those who have been granted citizenship who committed crimes.
Yep.
Enforce food standards uniformly. No halal food anymore. Just say, okay, no, these food standard safeties, they apply to everything. There's no carve-outs anymore. Target HMRC to take a hard look at Turkish barbers, etc.
Yep.
Enforce policing standards uniformly. No two-tier anymore.
Yep. Again, all of this totally sensible and completely doable.
Yep. And step at a time. It's just not difficult. Stop granting welfare and social housing to foreign nationals.
Yep.
Stop granting welfare and social housing to non-citizens with indefinite leave to remain.
Yep.
Stop granting welfare and social housing to anyone who wasn't born here.
Yep.
Stop granting welfare and social housing to anyone born without British-born grandparents. Final thing I've got is stop train migration. If you marry a Brit, your leave to remain lasts as long as the marriage, and as soon as it ends, you have to go.
Sure.
And everything on here is normal outside of the West.
Yes.
And I haven't even gone particularly far with this. But if we
this is very moderate. I thought it was going to go a lot further.
Yeah. Well,
there are secret clauses.
I was worried I would get in trouble if I carried up to 0.50. But the point is, you get that far and you'll turn the current inflow into an outflow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is literally what Sweden has done, or is doing, in the process of doing. And they've got their immigration down to net negative at this point. So it's like, this is all completely possible. The overpopulation crisis of the West is completely solvable. We just have to want to solve it. And stop giving them money, basically, is the key. Stop bringing them in and giving them money. That's it.
It's as simple as that, and the in-wash will turn into a trickle out, and then if you keep it going for long enough and you keep going down the list, it will be a flow out.
I mean, imagine how many will leave if they just get a letter saying we're not going to give you any money anymore.
Yes.
Just imagine that. That'd be millions.
At the end of the year, your social housing rights have been removed and you're not getting any welfare.
Yeah. So make your arrangements.
Hundreds of thousands will go.
Yeah, because that's why so many of them are here in the first place.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So I wanted to leave one, potentially positive note on this otherwise gloomy day. I've got good and bad. The good is remigration is inevitable. It is going to happen. The only thing I'd say is that when it starts happening, you're just going to be a bit disappointed. It's going to be a bit meek and mild. And, Harry and Beau are going to be doing segments like this is remigration in name only and why have only 200,000 people left this year, and you're going to be very annoyed. So you are going to get it. It's just going to be a bit crap, but it is going to happen.
Listen, Dan, in any mass movement, there needs to be a rightmost edge radicals pulling everybody
Is that you or Beau?
To the right. Make your own mind. I would include you in that, to be perfectly honest.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Travel in some similar circles.
Yes.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.